Here we have two athletes doing a mirror shuffle drill. So the athlete on the left side of the screen is playing defense while the athlete on the right side is playing offense. So first, we'll just let this kind of go through and then we'll go through and break it down. Figuring out who's what there to start. And we see the athlete on the right side playing a lot taller because, again, he's the offensive player just trying to get the athlete on the left side of the screen to react. So one of the things that really stand out to me with this video is just the great bend that the athlete on the left side of the screen is using the entire time. And you'll see as he transitions onto that his right foot here, that moment right there where he's putting his right foot down and we see such good flexion occur at his ankle, knee, and hip to load himself before he pushes out back to his right. So that moment of ankle dorsiflexion, knee flexion, and hip flexion, we can see just that awesome parallel line between his torso and his shin. So I know he's doing a good job of keeping the weight on the inside edge of his foot. He has pressure on the ball of his foot. And I know that because he's not letting his ankle kind of rotate out. He doesn't have that excessive supination moment. So he gets that supination, he touches down with the inside edge of his foot starts to supinate, and then he pronates out of it to be able to go back to the opposite side. And then again, we see the same thing occur on his left foot with his inside edge of the shoe touch down, controls his momentum, and pushes back out of it. So again, we just see such awesome bend here with this athlete on the left side of the screen who's, 6'11", and he's about 215, 220 pounds in this video. Just doing a great job of keeping his feet moving, not getting stuck, staying active. He's not excessively moving his feet or trying to be up on his toes. He's just using his what are his strengths, which is his great mobility, to really stay long, stay bent, stay squatted the whole time, and keep up with the athlete on the right side of the screen. So again, he stays level the whole time. His head's not going up and down excessively. He's keeping his balance. He's not getting overextended. And again, we see just that good foot plant angles of him reaching his foot out, putting his foot in the ground, cutting back, and getting good flexion occurring at his ankle, knee, and hip. And again, just one more time here. Nice shuffle to his left, good cut, awesome lateral cuts here. Staying balanced the whole time, not guessing, just reacting and being nice and stable here. And again, when we go through and break down the actual shuffle, we'll see he repositions that left foot to cut back, and he takes that nice directional step with his right foot. So we can see as he rotates his right knee out towards the camera, he's pulling with his heel and his hamstring. The athlete starts to cut back, and then he just simply turns that right foot to reposition to get a good lateral push off, to get a good lateral cut to go back to his left. And we just see this occur numerous times throughout this drill. So again, that going to his left, cuts off that left foot, takes a directional step with his right. He's pulling himself, his ankle and knee rotate towards the camera because he's moving laterally. Then we see him reposition that right foot. Again, his right foot is now perpendicular to his direction of travel as he's going back to his left. Some really nice cuts in this video. Here we are going to have the athletes do another mirror shuffle drill with the roles reversed. So the athlete on the left side of the screen is playing defense now. We'll watch this one a couple times before we go through and break down kind of what's happening. And even just off the bat, what I want people to kind of look at is just the fluidity and the smoothness of the athlete playing defense on the left side compared to the first video where they were switched. So this athlete was taught by his sport coaches to kick his foot out as he's shuffling to try to get his leg in the passing lanes. And we see what that does as he moves. Is he's pretty much off balance. He gets his feet caught up numerous times and almost rolls his ankle. I think it's like 3 or 4 times in this video. So his movements are very disjointed and choppy and rushed and forced versus being fluid and smooth and balanced and in control the entire time. So as we go through, we see him as he just as he starts, was taught to, again, have that kind of like hot feet posture where he's always supposed to be on his toes. So his heels are almost off the ground the entire time. So as he's just starting here, we can see him starting in very little ankle dorsiflexion. His shins are almost vertical the entire time. As he goes into his shuffle, we see that kick out with his left leg. So his head kind of goes out and up the whole time as he starts to shuffle. So he doesn't really get a good push off of his right leg because he's not starting with enough flexion as ankle, knees, and hips. Because his legs are already straight, he tries to kind of reposition that right foot, but his leg is already long. He doesn't get any push to actually travel to his left as he comes out of this. So again, his center of mass is just too high relative to his angle of force application through his right leg. So then as he shuffles, we see that left foot kind of really roll. So he tries to touch down with that inside edge of his foot, but his ankle continues to roll the whole time. And then to get back, he's kicking his right foot. So you can see he just kicks his right foot and his right leg is completely straight to kind of try to pull himself over to this side. But what we see is as he kicks, his body kind of tilts to the opposite side. So we'll see this a couple times in some different parts where he kicks his foot up and his body tilts the opposite way. So as he kicks his foot up, again, he takes that directional step with his right foot to try to pull himself. But because he's already getting so high, so we can see how high his head rises after that kick. So his head's relatively low right there, but as he comes up, he goes up in the air and is, again, very off balance. So then now, because he's a step behind, he's turning his pelvis towards the camera more to basically go almost into like a lateral run position. So then when his foot touches the ground, he doesn't have the ability to reposition it enough to push himself back to the left as the athlete on the right is cutting back on him. So we see him kind of touch in like almost like a more of like a lunge stop position, and then he tries to kind of pivot and turn his foot instead of repositioning it again. That's when we see him really roll his ankle here. Again, he regains his balance though. And again, like honestly, it's a good job by the athlete on the right where he notices that he's off balance and then he cuts him back again. So this position, he comes up too high. His center of mass is leaning back to his left. His foot touches the ground. He tries to pivot and turn out of it because he has to find that perpendicular foot to the angle he needs to go. And again, that's to his left. Because his foot's not perpendicular as he's trying to move, he rolls his ankle, pops straight up again, and then has to regain balance before trying to get back in position to play defense. So again, we see that the numerous kicking here. Again, as he kicks, his head kind of comes up. As he stops, we can, again, when we kind of compare it to the other athlete, when he was playing defense, just that angle between the shin and the torso isn't that same parallel shin and torso like we saw in the previous video. So his shin's a little bit more perpendicular to the floor, which again, he's using much more of a hip dominant strategy versus more of a balance strategy using his ankle, knee, and hip kind of all together. So again, that lack of ankle dorsiflexion and stiffness in the knees is making him use a strategy that's much more hip dominant than the other athlete was. And we see that right foot reposition and then kick out with that left leg. So we can see that really aggressive kick. He's just so overextended. So then by the time he has to cut back out of it, he's out of position already. Each time he kicks, he's leaning his center of mass to the opposite side. So again, as his right foot kicks, he's going to lean his center of mass to the left to keep balance. Because if he kicks too far to the right, he's just going to go there without being able to kind of control himself. So he's kicking and giving himself like this rotational force numerous times throughout this mirror shuffle drill here. Again, that's why we're always talking about keeping athletes balanced the whole time. We don't want them getting overextended, and that overextended position is just that straightness that we see like right there. His left leg gets complete straight, he's overextended to his left, and then it's hard to get back into position to keep balanced. Again, same thing there. Because he's kicking out, by the time he puts his foot down, he can't put his foot down in a better position to be able to cut back to his left. So again, we see that same thing, his ankle roll right there. Because he's not landing in a position where he's able to cut back to his left effectively. His angle of force application off of his right foot here could be a lot better. So one of the things that we worked on was just trying to break this habit of getting him kicking and getting him to work on pushing off of his shuffle more rather than kicking and reaching out. So again, like right there, instead of kicking and reaching with his left leg, we were trying to get him to work on pushing off of his right foot and just maintaining balance more. He'll be a much better defender and he'll be a lot more effective on the court if he's able to find balance more and to be able to use his strengths, which is actually his physical force production abilities was this athlete's strength. So being able to use that and be effective with that along with his length, he needs to be able to be balanced the whole time. And again, we'll just watch this one through one more time. we see a lot of head movement kind of going up and down with this athlete compared to the previous video, because again, that movement just isn't really fluid. He's trying to get overextended rather than staying balanced the entire time. So again, we want athletes to work on that push off rather than kicking and reaching and getting overextended. We always want balance before anything else.